Hey, everybody, welcome to Behind the Lens. My name is Maya Cryer, and this is a show where I talk to creatives around the world to discuss their creative process, their journeys, and we're going to be sharing some tutorials in the next few months as well. So I'm so excited for that. Please make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, Maya Simone. And we're going to get into it today. I'm so excited to have this next guest on the show. His name is James Davis, or JD, as folks call him. And when I tell you this man can take photos like nobody's business, it's for real. He's traveled around the globe with so many people, starting with musicians and public speakers and what have you. And I really appreciate his demeanor. Is very chill, very relaxed, but he makes sure to get everything done. And so yeah, I just gotta bring him on. I'm so excited. So hi James, how are you today?
I'm well. I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. I'm so excited to have you. All right, let's just get into it.
For sure.
So how did you get started on your creative journey? Like what inspired you to start being a photographer, but also um would you call yourself a content creator as well, or like what titles do you have?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start with the first one. I started out very young. I was about 11 or 12 years old when I first picked up a camera. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, very, very young. My parents used to take us on vacations every summer. And one year I just picked up my dad's video camera and just started filming our family vacations. And one day they randomly bought me a laptop, and I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I still have all this footage. And back then everything was filmed on mini DV tapes, so I had all these tapes um,
Wow.
that I just had, and I finally was able to digitize it, put on a
Hmm.
computer, and I just edited all of our family vacations into one video that made it seem like one big epic vacation. So
Oh.
that's how I got started. And
Hmm.
then my church that I grew up in, they started broadcasting on television,
Hmm.
and like I said, I was like 11 or 12 at the time. So they got all this camera equipment. They started broadcasting on local TV,
Hmm.
and I was like, yo, I have to be in the media department. So very young, I got my hands on camera gear. So yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know what a tape is nowadays,
Right.
what?
Seriously, it's a throwback for sure.
That's what's up. Wow. Okay. So you started from there, and then well, have you always lived in you weren't always living in California at the time?
No, so I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Lived there all the way from birth up until I went to college. When did I move away? In 2009.
Mhm.
2009, I moved away to Washington, D.C., and I went
Oh,
to
nice.
art school out there. I went to the Art Institute of Washington.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, ironically enough, I stayed there for a year,
Mhm.
but I absolutely hated the experience. I hated living in
Ooh.
DC. I
He's
hated
like,
the
no.
school. Yeah, it was not the move for me.
Okay.
Um, so then I actually ended up I don't want to say dropping out, but I transferred to another school and
Mhm.
then stayed there for, they call it quarters. So I stayed there for like 3 or 4 months, and I loved it, but it was for all the wrong reasons. Like I'm fresh out of
Mm.
high school, so I'm partying first time. Like I'm
We are not
exactly
focused on school.
right, right. So I'm
Right.
like, like this isn't really what I know. Like in the long run, it's gonna benefit me. So I
Right.
actually dropped out. I dropped out, and I'm like, this isn't what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
Um, and then I found out about a school called Full Sail University
Oh,
in
yes.
Orlando.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I went and I toured the school, fell in love with it as soon as I got on the
Oh,
campus,
yeah.
and I enrolled, and I ended up going. I started school, I want to say like August of 2010 or July of 2010,
Mhm.
and it was a 2-year program, and it's they call it accelerated. So basically, you get a bachelor's degree in 20 months.
Oh,
So
wow.
in 20 months, you're just nonstop going. So you have 2 months of like general ed classes like math and
Mhm.
all that stuff. But since I had went to two other schools, I had all my gen
The
eds
credit.
already transferred
Perfect.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had 1 month of gen ed, and then I went straight into my I forget what they call it. It's been so long since I've been to college.
Right?
Uh,
No.
Education, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
went
yeah.
straight into my major after month 1.
Got it.
So 20 months of just every aspect of filmmaking. So you start out with script writing, directing, cinematography, all the way
Mhm.
up to carpentry. So we were
Oh, wow.
building sets and doing CAD designs and all that
Mhm.
type of stuff. And then so straight out of college, I graduated in 2012.
Mhm.
Literally straight out of college, I moved straight to LA. So
He was
yeah,
like, "It's a done deal." Okay, we moved to California, and please share a little bit of your California story because everyone's is different.
yeah.
But what was yours like? Did you come and think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to step right onto the a set and take all the photos and direct and write all the things"? Like, what was your story?
Yeah, so I mean, that was definitely the thought process and the idea.
Right.
But as everyone in LA knows, LA got different plans. I mean, LA,
Absolutely.
shoot. So moving straight out to LA, straight out of college, I moved out here with 3 other friends from college,
Mhm.
so I had 3 other roommates. But yeah, I thought I was gonna come out here. At the time, I was very, very heavy in shooting, directing, and editing music videos. I still do
Okay.
that, but that was, like, my main
The
thing.
thing.
Even
Mhm.
before photography, I was down, like, definitely deep in the music video world. That was my thing.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna come out here and get signed. I was like, I give myself like 8 months and I'll be signed and I'll have representation. I'll be on these sets. I'll be doing
Yeah,
50,000, 100,000. Everyone has
absolutely.
the same story. So I learned very quickly that, that's not really how it goes.
Mhm.
Um, so moving straight out here, I worked very odd jobs. Like I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Come
Um,
on. With the low
I
with the low
worked
lights.
right. It's so humbling. Um, I worked at Moonlight. I'm only shouting it out because it's such a prominent place
Yeah.
in the music video world and like movies and stuff. But it's a skating rink in Glendale called
You
Moonlight
did?
Rollerway.
Oh my
I worked there for a whole year as a floor
yes.
guard. So I'm the
Really?
guy with the whistle going around the rink. Like
What? That was you?
I did that
That
for a
was
whole
you?
year. Did that for a year.
Yeah.
And I did, obviously like I still worked on sets, but
Mhm.
um, just as a production assistant, sometimes, I'm actually on set.
Mhm.
Sometimes I was just an errand guy where I
Yeah.
would be a PA on set, but I
Right.
was never on set. So um I'll never forget one time like a director had just moved to LA
Mhm.
and they brought me on as a PA, but I wasn't on set. I was basically moving stuff into his new apartment.
I'm
That
screaming.
was that was me being a PA on set. So I've done
Oh,
a lot
Lord.
of interesting jobs.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Haven't we all?
man, I mean, being green in LA is so humbling. But, I did that for a long time. I did really, um, I don't like to say obscure, but I did I'll say green jobs where I was just a PA or I was doing playback on music videos, just pressing play and stop on music.
Right.
Um, just doing stuff like that. I wanna say I did that from 2012 to about 2016, like,
Mhm.
for 4 years,
Wow.
just grinding. And then, I eventually started doing photography stuff because, I needed to make money.
Right.
So I was like, all right, obviously like I know how to take pictures, but I don't know like what to take pictures of and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So back then that was when like the influencer thing was like really, really big on social media where
Right.
basically, you shoot for free, you do trade work and
Mhm.
so I was just shooting a bunch of different models, different athletes and stuff just to get content on my Instagram.
Mhm.
Um, so I did that for a long time, a long time. But yeah, you know, as time went on, I think I started to really get my footing and a grasp for what I really wanted out of life and out of my
Mhm.
career here in LA.
Right.
So at that time, I was also doing a internship at a music video company for free. Um,
Yeah.
and I eventually was like, you know what, I think I'm fulfilled here. So I can't say I resigned because it really wasn't a job, but I resigned.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it head on and do my own thing, and find my own clients, whether
Mhm.
that's doing music videos or doing corporate work or just doing tons of different things.
Right.
And just to fast forward a little bit, in 2017, I actually ended up moving out of LA
Mhm.
to Orange County. And for your viewers that aren't familiar with California, it's like an
Mhm.
hour, hour and a half away from LA.
Yes. Mhm.
So I ended up moving out to Orange County because there was a church out here that s- one of their members had worked with me in the past
Mhm.
and was now head of their worship team. And they were like, hey, like, we need someone on our staff that does great, video work and photo work.
Right.
So randomly one day this church calls me. They're like, hey, like, are you interested in working at a church? And I'm like, this is so random. Like,
Sure.
but yeah, I'm like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
down to, entertain it and see what you guys are talking about.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
so that was in 2017, and it will be the first chance at a stable income in the
Yes.
world of creating. So I was
Yes.
like, okay, I'm
Yes,
interested
Lord, I
to
hear
see.
you.
It was just it was conflicting though because it was out
Mm.
of LA. So I
Right.
was like, oh, I don't want to move to LA, or I don't want to move to Orange County. I don't want to,
Mhm.
be that far. Long story short, I ended up taking the job, but I was still living in LA.
Right.
And I did that for 3 months, living in LA and commuting to
And
OC,
crying.
and I was like, "Listen."
Nah. No,
Yeah,
Lord.
and it was a full-time position, so I was driving
Really?
from LA to OC, OC to LA,
5 days a
Monday
week?
through Friday, Monday through Friday, or I'll say Sunday through Friday because
Ooh.
I had to do church as well.
Yep. Mhm.
So Sunday through Friday, 9 to 5 for
Jesus.
3 months, and then eventually I was just like, "You know what? Can we figure out something where, I get paid some more and I'll move out here?" And,
Wow.
that was, I would say, the beginning of how things really, expanded for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, moving out
Wow.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and talk about that part as far as because a lot of us do think, okay, you move from a different state, you go to LA, you go to Los
Mhm,
Angeles, or you go to Hollywood, you
mhm,
gotta make it in that specific city or that specific
yeah,
place. But
mhm,
talk a little bit about your thought process as to okay, yeah, this job is in the OC, it's in a
mhm,
completely different area outside of
yeah,
LA, but this is actually working for me and it's benefiting me. So just talk a little
yeah,
bit and maybe share some encouragement to those who maybe feel like, man, I have to make it in LA specifically or else
for
nothing's gonna
sure.
happen.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, even just getting that opportunity, I completely shut down the fact of leaving LA. So for 3 months, I was still living in LA, but working in OC. Then it came to a point where I was like, well, what's actually holding me in LA? Nothing, actually. I mean, I had a lease, but my lease was actually about to expire. So I'm like, there's nothing
Mhm.
actually holding me. I mean, my income is somewhere else,
Right.
and I'm not making money here in LA, at least not like consistently. So I'm like,
Exactly.
okay. Um, but even just on that fact, I'll say things have definitely changed a lot since 2012 and all the way up to 2025. I would say in 2012, you probably did need to be in LA to make it in LA. But
Hmm.
think, I mean, and I'll say post 2020, it shows that you don't need to be in a specific place to make money. Like,
That's true.
I want to say I'm probably in LA. Geez, I can't even tell you the last time I was in LA for work. Like,
Really?
I cannot tell you. Like, I do
Wow.
most of my work out here in
Hmm.
OC, and then I'm traveling. So, um,
Yes.
and that just shows that you don't need to be in LA, especially now with the way technology is, the way social
Right.
media is, you can have a following and a base in LA, but you don't necessarily physically need to be here.
Right.
Like I said,
Exactly.
I live in Orange County. It's only an hour and a half away, so even if
Yeah.
I do need to go do work in LA, I mean, it's an hour and a half drive, just drive over there and come
Drive
back
on back.
over come back this way.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, you definitely don't need to be in LA. I wanna say it's kind of, it's you really have to sit and process and think about it because I feel like LA and Hollywood has had the perception of, "Oh, you need to be here to be in
Yes.
it," but
Mhm.
you really don't. You really don't. I mean,
Right.
especially in film and photography, you see that markets are popping up all across the country. You have New York, you have
Yes.
Texas, and people that are in film that do movies know that LA is actually dying as far as when it comes to making films because of
Mhm.
all the taxes and how expensive it is to actually make movies here. So
Mhm.
all these other studios and production companies are popping up in other states because it's just cheaper. So,
Right.
yeah, you definitely don't need to be here though. Yeah, you
That's
really don't.
good. And that's so amazing, and obviously congratulations to everything that you've done thus far.
Thank you.
So, including your space in the OC, so
Mhm.
you're a business owner full
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So,
full
what business do you own, and
yeah,
also what does a typical day look like for you as a business owner and as a creative entrepreneur, if you would call yourself that?
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's exactly what I would say it is. It's a creative entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Um, every day is different. It's I have, like, these notes, like, these,
Mhm.
new note cards. I had to start writing things down and have it
Right.
physically in front of me
Yes.
because, with me being a creative, sometimes it's funny, I just made a whole video on what I'm about to talk about, but,
Nice.
being a creative person, the creative aspects of things, it's second nature. It's just like, I don't
Mhm.
really have to think about it. But, like,
Yes.
when it comes to being organized, like, I'm a very organized person, but once you
Yeah.
have 5 different things that you're trying to think about, multitasking necessarily isn't a good thing. You kinda just
Right.
have to focus on one thing,
One
get it
thing.
done, then move
Yes.
on to the next.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, so I opened a photo studio in 2023,
Nice.
um,
Mhm.
which was it was always a dream of mine. Um, and by God's grace, I was able to accomplish that and make that happen.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's it definitely isn't a it's not as simple and easy as some people would think. With
Mhm.
me being a creative person and then
Yeah.
adding on a physical business on top of it,
Mhm.
it's kind of stressful because with working for myself as a creative, I'm my own boss. I say yes and no to work.
Mhm.
Um, I get to use my creative juices. I'm just
Mhm.
flowing. I'm doing what I do. But
Yeah.
once you add a business element, also to the creative, but more on the studio side, once you add a business element, especially a physical business element, there's
Mhm.
so many different facets. Like you need
Right.
to worry about infrastructure, like dealing with clients, having certain types of insurance, and all these
Mhm.
different types of things that you may not necessarily think about when you first want to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And some of those things also trickle down even to the creative aspect. So I officially made my business an LLC as far as the creative stuff in 2020 or 2021,
Mhm.
simply because being a freelancer, so let's just say I just pick up my camera and I go on set and I'm just filming and taking pictures for people. I'm going on set as James Davis.
Yes.
Cool. God forbid a light falls on someone or I
Yeah.
drop a sandbag on someone's foot. Oh, they are coming for me. They are going to
Absolutely.
sue James
Yes.
Davis and everything that I have.
Yes.
But what I learned is once you embody all of that into a company or LLC,
Mhm.
S corp, whatever one you choose,
Mhm.
um, now you're an employee underneath that. So if
Yes.
something ever happens, they sue the business, and now you're technically detached. You as a person
Right.
are detached.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are just certain things that I've learned, being a creative entrepreneur. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
you're
yeah.
good. What would you say to somebody who is eager to set up their own business, whether it be physically or maybe it's just online? Like, what are some tips that you would offer to the creative, specifically the creative
Yeah.
entrepreneur? Because, like as you said, we can we're trying to multitask, we're trying to get all
Yeah.
these things done, get all these ideas done,
Mhm.
plus run a successful business.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to start a business, whether it's physical or creative, do market research.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important because, excuse me, it's so important because with social media, it's very easy to just scroll on your phone and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I want to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
want to do that." But one, you may not necessarily know all the back end, what
Right.
actually goes into it. And then second, you don't know if it's even if it's a need in the area that
Mm,
you're living in. So,
right.
for example, opening my studio here in Orange County
Mm-hmm.
and opening a studio in LA are two completely different things.
Yeah. Break
Two
that
complete.
down.
So
Mm-hmm.
LA is definitely a creative hub. We have
Yeah.
filmmakers, photographers, you have dancers, you have artists, you have people across the whole spectrum of creativity in LA. People are doing stuff every day. Orange County, we have that, but
Mm-hmm.
we're so close to LA that people still just kind of gravitate to LA.
Mm-hmm.
But the vast majority of creators and people that need content in OC are families and
Right.
corporate America.
Right.
And it's very different from what I'm used to, which is, dealing with just creative people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I made my studio, well, one, with me living in OC since 2017, I've already known. I'm like, okay, it's not necessarily a creative hub. So I knew that already,
Yes.
um, that it just wasn't a creative place, and it was just more for families and uh,
Yes.
just corporate style of content. So going into my studio, uh, going into creating a studio, I knew that the place had to be a creative space, but it couldn't be niche. It couldn't be too
Mhm.
over the top. So there's some studios in LA where it's perfect. You walk in and oh, this is dope for a music video. Oh, I can pull a
Mhm.
car in, put some lights here and fog it
Right.
up and do all this stuff. I could have easily done that because that's what I do, but
Yes.
would that sell here in Orange County?
Right.
So
Exactly.
I had to completely detach what I do versus
Mhm.
what my surroundings are showing me,
Wow.
So I'm just glad that I did the research, but then second, I didn't just take what I thought was cool and just made
Mhm.
it a business because what I think is cool may not necessarily resonate with everyone that's around me. So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's interesting that you say that because I think a lot of times we're not doing the market research and yeah, we're just doing what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And as a and you can talk personally about this, but as a creative, even though you're in this environment where it's mostly families, mostly corporate folks who, 9 to 5, but I need
Mhm.
some cool stuff to do
Right.
or cool stuff to make. You know what I mean? My content to pop, but I'm still
Mhm.
low key.
Yeah.
Versus, being in LA and it's all the music videos, all the glitz and glam. So, how do you personally still do what you like to do, like creating the content you like to create or the photos you like to take, but
Yeah.
in your mind you're like, but where I'm at is actually, bringing in the bills or
Yeah,
bringing
for
money
sure.
for to pay
Yeah,
for this space. Like,
it's
how
yeah.
have you emotionally and mentally, balanced that out or have figured that out?
Yeah, I mean, I to be completely honest, it's not something that I've completely figured out. It's an up and down,
Mhm.
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Some days I'm not even motivated to create because I know the business aspect of things need to be taken care of.
Mm,
And
yeah.
and that's the thing about having, like I said, a physical business because I can be creative all day,
Yeah.
but the physical business has what do you call it? Has overhead. There's
Mhm.
rent to be paid, there's insurance to be covered, there's
Yes.
just things that actually need to come in for it to exist.
Correct.
Um, so making sure that I'm good creatively. I'm not always good creatively. Sometimes I'm
Mhm.
just not there. Sometimes I'm not inspired. It's I mean, I don't know if y'all can see, but I have gray hairs.
I'm screaming.
I,
He's
I'm getting gray hairs, so
yes.
it's not always just like butterflies and rainbows, and
Yes.
it's trying to find that middle ground and have a good balance. Luckily for me, I do have a lot of friends that are in the music industry or that are in like the creative space, so
Mhm.
I still do get to work with them and do creative projects. My girlfriend's a makeup artist, so she
Shout
gets
out to
clients
her.
and
She the
clients.
best. She the bomb.
She's
Go say,
she's
"Hey,
the
girl.
bomb. She's the
Hey,
bomb.
girl."
Right. So I mean, as far as like on a generating capital side of things, like I'm still able to get creative, but
Mhm.
it's not always that way. So the outlet that I have been experimenting with, I would say more on a consistent basis the past 4 months is creating a personal brand. So
Mm.
with my Instagram, a lot of people that
Yeah.
have followed me for years are starting to see kind of a change in the content I'm pushing. I'm not
Mhm.
always I'm not always showing portfolio pieces or completed pieces of work. Sometimes I'm showing behind the scenes, sometimes I'm
Yes.
showing me actually working, sometimes it's me working out.
Yes.
These are just different outlets for me to be creative and just to
Right.
get what I know that's inside of me out there. And
Yes.
then also being more consistent on YouTube. So I've been posting a video every week since the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And that's just one other way that I'm able to get those creative juices out there. And
Right.
because business aspects of things, they get very overwhelming. They take up
Mhm.
most of my time. But I
Right.
know I'm not God didn't make me to be a robot. He made me to
Correct.
be creative.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna, put my focus on the business stuff to make sure obviously that it's stewarded well and that it, can exist and it's continuous. But for me personally, I have to do those other things in order to stay creative.
Absolutely. That's good.
Yeah,
And you have to find that balance
have
because
to.
even, back when you were working, at the roller rink or,
Mhm.
PAing, how did you balance being a creative but also doing the grunt work that you didn't want to do? Because that's where a lot of folks are nowadays. They have to take a second job or have to do other
Yeah.
things, but they're like, I don't have time to create, or I don't have time to fulfill my dreams on the
Yeah.
side. So what do you say to those people in that position?
I mean, I would say the first step, something that you can do, and it's so cliche, is write down your goals, write down what
Mhm.
exactly you want to see. I'm a firm believer, one, in just having faith, but
Right.
writing it down so you can actually see, okay, this is the goal. This is what I need, and this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, Once you can just kind of get in that headspace, doing the 9 to 5 and doing the grunt work and just grinding
Mhm.
is not necessarily gonna be fun, but there will be a purpose for it.
Yeah.
You'll be like, okay, in order to get to this, I need to get through this.
Yes.
Like even with my studio, I've always wanted a studio, but
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know, but this was in 2021, 2021, 2020. It was in 2022 going into 2023.
Mhm.
I worked a 9 to 5 in LA.
Mm.
A lot
Yeah.
of people don't know this. It was a creative 9 to 5, but
Right.
I clocked in, clocked out 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, driving from
Mhm.
OC to LA for an entire year.
Wow.
But a lot of people don't know that. But I was like,
Right.
I want this studio. How can I get this much capital in that amount of time? Like, I really want
Yeah.
to do this. I was like, all right, cool. So I did this
Mhm.
9 to 5, and it's so God, honestly. So The
Mhm.
day, um, I'll go back. I I found the studio that I wanted, and it wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily it wasn't a studio yet. It was just a building that was under construction.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I want this space. How much is it to put down so that, it's secure that I'm the person that's getting it? So I
Yes.
put down $6,000 before this place was even built. I was like, all
Mhm.
right, just don't show it to anyone.
Right.
And throughout the process of building, I'm still working this 9 to 5.
Mhm.
And I'm like, all right, I'm checking on the process of the studio being built and all the
Yes.
construction and everything. And they finished it. The day I signed the lease,
Uh-huh.
the day I signed the lease to the studio, I got fired from my job.
Stop.
The
You
same day. I wanna say it was probably like 2 hours. 2 hours after.
really? Yeah.
2 hours after I signed the lease, I got a call, and they were like, basically, we're changing formats of how we are producing content. So I
Okay.
was a full-time, I'll say content creator just for lack of a better word at the moment, but
Yeah.
I did all their production, all their photography, I did everything, and it was an international company. I did all of their stuff,
Mhm.
and they said that basically they're getting more return on investment from user generated content versus actual produced content, and
Oh.
there was just no need for someone like me anymore.
Mhm.
They gave me my 30-day notice.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, all
Right.
right. I just forked over 6K. I signed over a lease for 3 years
What I'm
to
about to
this
do here?
building, and I'm like, yo, like this is crazy. But
Right.
I was just glad that I did this 9 to 5, because just imagine, like, I did all
Yeah.
of that, but I didn't have the backing from that 9 to 5 for that year.
Mm.
So that
Yeah.
9 to 5 one set me up to get the business, but it also held me over.
Right.
So it was just like, it's funny. Sometimes the 9 to 5 literally can be that door for your next
100%.
step. So
Yeah.
never, I'll say, don't discount the 9 to 5 grind. Obviously, you don't want to be there forever.
Mhm.
Don't get consumed by it. Don't get sucked into just working for someone else, especially if you have dreams and aspirations. Do the grind work, but
Right.
I always tell people, don't forget about your 5 to 9. You clock in for your 9 to 5. Now you
Mhm.
make sure you spend that 5 to 9 to do your stuff.
Right.
I did that. I mean, from when I worked full time at the company in LA, and even
Mhm.
when I worked at the church out here,
Mhm.
when I clocked out, I still did my creative stuff, on
Yes.
the back end. So you just always still have to create. Just don't let 9 to 5 be your life. That's it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
so good. Wow. Yeah, that's how God be doing stuff. The faith
Seriously,
part. You be like, I did
man.
what? You did who? Okay.
Seriously. It was
No, that's
crazy.
what's up. That is so dope. So within your space, talk a little bit about it. Like what can we, you know what? I'm not gonna do that question yet. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack.
Yeah, you
Let's take a breather. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. Okay. Okay. So something that I've been thinking about lately is how I can take an idea and it go from ideation to execution
mhm.
in a shorter amount of time. Because for me as a creative person, I have found that sometimes that length of time is too long.
Yeah,
Whether I'm not disciplined or not motivated or inspired or something, no matter how I'm feeling, it's like, but you still need to get this done and just produce it and get it out. So,
okay.
how have you worked through either the mental thoughts or emotional thoughts about, okay, I have this awesome idea, I need to get it done, quickly, or I need to just have some urgency about it versus like, okay, I have this idea, but you don't do it until like 6 months later.
Right. Um, I'll use YouTube for now
Hmm.
as an example. So there are a few things that I struggled with just YouTube. It was appearance, it
Mm.
was coming up with the ideas, and then it was setting up like the camera, the light, all that stuff. Now, I know how to set up a camera and lighting,
Right.
and I do that professionally, but it just sometimes once you get an idea for a YouTube video, you're just like, I just don't feel like setting up
Oh,
cameras. I don't feel like setting up the lights.
yeah.
So, I mean, you guys can see I have this
Yes.
contraption back here.
Right.
Um, I call that the one man stand. So
Yes.
I built out this stand on wheels that has my camera mounted on it already,
Right.
has the mic mounted on it already, and it has
Nice.
the light mounted on it already. So all I have to do is turn it on.
Yeah.
So it
Wow.
kills the whole setup time. That's one thing.
Mhm.
Now, as far as like what you were saying, as far as like the 6 months of waiting on doing something, going from ideation to completion,
Right.
this is something that, you know, I would say with me, and I feel like every person's really like this. Everyone's
Mhm.
a work in progress. No one
Yeah.
actually has it all figured out. But
Right.
with me, this is something I'm still figuring out. But one thing that I've seen that works for me, like I said before, is just writing stuff down. If I
Yes.
have it in front of me, whether it's for, like I said, I'll use YouTube. I
Mhm.
don't like to script out YouTube videos, but there have been times where I'll just sit in front of a camera and just ramble, ramble, ramble. But if you sit down and write down bullet points and
Right.
keynote and key things you want to talk about, especially if it's something that you're passionate about already, all you have to do is look at the bullet note and then you can flow. Because if it's something that you're actually, knowledgeable about or actually
Mhm.
passionate about talking about, you can get that information out easy. Now, when it comes to I don't necessarily do a lot of big creative projects that are just for me. I
Mhm.
do more big creative projects for other people.
Right.
Um, but the biggest way to get those projects done quicker is to do so in music video world, they're called treatments.
Yes.
Some people may call them mood boards or vision boards, but I call them treatments in music videos. So
Mhm.
basically, you just put down on a document different photos of what you want uh, the vibe to be, the mood to be, the lighting, the color, how the edit's gonna flow, and you put out this beautiful document and you present it to the client. So then that
Yes.
way, on the day or once they award you the job, you already know, okay, this is the aesthetic that we're going for. You've already done a lot of the work already versus just showing up on set and you're like, okay, so what are we
What are we
doing?
doing?
Like,
Yeah.
how are we doing this? And trust me,
Yes.
I've been there with those types of shoots because
Yeah.
sometimes jobs just pop up and sometimes, organization and getting all those things that the pre-production done isn't always the best. But
Yes.
having a good pre-production, especially for the bigger shoots,
Mhm.
will definitely help speed up the ideation to completion.
Nice. Having
Yeah,
a plan, mapping it
absolutely.
out, and then not allowing it to just collect dust on
Absolutely.
your
I mean, and then also just collaborating too. And this is
Mhm.
something that I'm working on. Because with a lot of my projects, I may collaborate on set, but for every project that from I'll say like 98% of the jobs that I do, I'm the director, I'm the cinematographer, and I'm the
Right.
editor. And
I'm the
I
production.
don't yeah, like I'm literally doing everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can do it. Do I enjoy it? Yes. But
Mhm.
is there a better editor than me? Absolutely.
Mm.
Is there a
Yeah.
better cinematographer than me? Absolutely.
Right.
So I would love to have I think another way to help speed up that process is just having a good core team that you work with, whether
Right.
it's in
Absolutely.
post-production, pre-production, or production. Um, for certain jobs, I have that core of people that I work with, but I still edit all of my projects. And I'm at the point now where I like editing, but like I edit so much, I would love just to pass some stuff on to
Yeah.
people. And just collaborating with other people, even in the production phase. I think one will help speed up the end result, but then also it will just help free me up as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got you. So those who need a job as an editor,
Right.
hit
Seriously.
up James. Get this
Seriously.
work, y'all. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That was helpful for me. writing it down, playing it out. Because I
Mhm.
think sometimes, and I was listening to this person on TikTok the other day, and they were saying if I were to start TikTok all over again, I would do these things. And
Mhm.
they said, post 3 times a day just to get in the rhythm of posting.
Yeah.
And something else that he said was, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, if you are a perfectionist, then it's not going to work. Like, don't even worry about being an entrepreneur because you're so focused on trying to make it all perfect
Yep.
instead of just posting and getting in the rhythm of it.
Not to cut you off, so
Yeah.
the first point you made about, like, getting in a rhythm,
Hmm.
something that I tell people is you have to put the reps in. Like, when you go to the gym, the
Yes.
best way that gain muscle is you put those reps in, you work out.
Yes.
Um, and then I actually have a video on my YouTube, or yeah, it's on YouTube and it's on my IG and TikTok,
Hmm.
talking about perfectionism, and it kinda circles back to the very first question you asked me, if I
Hmm.
consider myself a content creator or photographer, director, which one?
Yeah.
And to, I guess, piggyback off of that, perfectionism does halt everything.
Right.
It halts everything, especially when it comes to creativity, and that is something I don't necessarily struggle with it much anymore, but
Hmm.
when I started doing content creation, it was very hard for me to get into that style of filmmaking because it's
Hmm.
essentially still filmmaking, it's just a different
Yeah.
way. But in my head, this is how I broke it down. Perfection or being perfect is client work because that's what people hire me for. People
Hmm.
hire me to make their brand or their company or their music, whatever, to make it look perfect. I am being
Hmm.
paid to be a perfectionist versus with
Mm.
content creation, there's a
Hmm.
lot more leniency because
Right.
you have everyday people that aren't professionals or perfect with cameras or audio,
Yeah.
making content, but you see their stuff skyrocketing and
Yeah.
going crazy. So I had to try to differentiate the two because I'm like, well, if I just label myself as a content creator, my
Hmm.
quality is not of what I know I can really produce. But
Right.
I really had to just sit there and decipher, well, I think the only difference is I'm trying to be perfect all the time
Hmm.
versus with content creation, like I said before, there's a lot more leniency where I can still bring in high quality imagery. I just don't have to go OD all the time. I can just
Right.
make what I want to make, like
Yeah.
put it out there. And I think that's the biggest difference between content creation and being a professional is like content creation, you can just make it, put it out there. If it looks great, awesome. If it doesn't, it will still hit as well. But I know
Right.
for me, I know for me, it has to look a certain way. So,
Hmm.
but I'm learning to take away being a perfectionist in that whole ideation and just putting things out because I've made things that I'm like, oh, it's not good enough. It doesn't really
Yeah.
fit what I do as a professional director and cinematographer, and it doesn't live to that level. I'm not gonna put it out. But it's the
Hmm.
most simple piece of content, but I won't drop it because of what's in my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to your point, perfectionism is yeah, it's not a good thing.
Right. Because like you said, it definitely can halt everything instead of
Yeah,
creating that movement. Like
yeah,
recently, I've been thinking about how action can kill the anxiety, can kill
yeah,
the perfectionism. So it's like, girls, just take the action every
absolutely,
time, and
absolutely.
we will have what we want to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was really good. So just a couple more questions. How have you, as a creative person and just as a professional, how have you dealt with failure and success? Like what are your thoughts about what failure is to you or what success is to you, but how it all is utilized as building blocks for your journey?
I mean, I'll say failure is inevitable in anything. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll use an analogy with working out because I'm not like a fitness head, but I work
Mhm.
out every day, and
Okay.
something that is spoken about when you're lifting is
Mhm.
you wanna lift till failure, or you wanna hit a weight
Yeah.
that you're failing at. So now you know, okay, that's my end mark.
Right.
That's as high as I can go. So you have to keep working until you can get past that next level. So
Yes.
I look at failure, I mean, obviously the natural aspect of looking at failure, you start to doubt yourself, you start to get discouraged, which is normal. You just have to not dwell in that because
Right.
it can be very it can lead you to a dark place, like just mentally, you won't want to create things.
Mhm.
So I've had friends that have gotten to that place and completely stopped creating, moved home,
Um,
and they're doing something completely different uh, outside of being a creative person or filmmaking or anything.
mhm.
Um, so failure, I mean, it's gonna happen in certain areas, and everyone has a different definition for failure. But
Right.
as you see, I have these two.
I love those, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I got them from this brand a few years ago, and I they've always stuck with me. So
Mhm.
I'll just read them out. Success with the straight line, the straight arrow, that's what we expect. That was
Yes.
how I came to LA, thinking it was
Right.
just gonna be like that. But success is really like this. It's
Absolutely.
going a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
ways, and that's success. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's a testament to how my career has even been. And
Mhm.
I'll say anyone in the creative space, that's how it's been because anyone can tell you that even just in social media, things have changed drastically from 2012 to now.
Right.
Everything's different. Content is different. The fact that I mean, you guys at home, I'm filming this on a Osmo Pocket 3. Back in the day, something this small, something compact to create did not exist.
Mhm.
Uh, this right here, iPhone, you can create beautiful images,
Right.
photo and video. Things just continue to change. Our careers, success, all that stuff is no different. It's always just
Mhm.
going to continue to move. You just have to be able to pivot with it. And that was one reasoning why I also opened a studio. I mean, I want to film and shoot for as long as God gives me vision to do that. But
Absolutely.
I don't see myself running around shooting and filming for my whole life, like
Mhm. Mhm.
there's gonna come a time where, I'm not gonna be as mobile. My vision isn't gonna be the greatest. I'm gonna have
Mhm.
kids one day. I just won't be as, agile to do all those things.
Yes.
Um, and whether I keep this studio or not, or start another one, or start a branch of
Mhm.
studios,
Mhm.
having something that I don't necessarily have to physically work
Yes.
for me, that is where I'm trying to go.
Absolutely.
So,
That's
yeah,
good.
just
The
but failure,
longevity.
yeah,
Mhm.
longevity,
Yeah.
absolutely, longevity, so but yeah,
That's
just
good.
I'll say as far as the failure thing again, just don't dwell in the failure, don't mope in
Yes.
it. Just take it as like, okay, like there's a saying when people say, "Oh, I took a L," but
Yes.
the L's should be lessons. Just look at it as a lesson.
That's good. I
So
took a
yeah.
lesson. Yeah. That's really dope. What is something that you would want to tell other creatives in their journey, or maybe what is something that you needed to hear at the beginning of your journey or in the middle of it, that would be helpful for you now?
Whew. Uh,
So where do I start?
I mean, I'll say one thing because, like I said, a lot of it is, we're still all figuring things out
Right.
uh, in life. This is the first time I'm experiencing this moment in my life
Right.
ever. So one thing that I'll say, especially in the beginning,
Hmm.
do things that are absolutely true to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't follow, I mean, I'll say don't follow trends. Like I know like there's trends on social media to like make
Hmm.
this type of video to, what I mean is don't make your entire existence or your
Hmm.
entire platform or your entire body of work a what's the word I just used? A trend.
Yes.
Don't make your entire body of work based off trends, because
Mm-hmm.
what will happen, those trends will eventually die, and just like this poster is, it's
Mm-hmm.
everything's gonna pivot and change at some point.
Yes.
So I'll say do things that are truly, truly true to you. And I say
Right.
that, and I'll leave you with this example. I'm full of examples today.
Yeah. We
I'll,
love
I'll
it.
leave
We
you
love it.
I'll leave you with this example. In 2015, when I was like really, really heavy in shooting like photos
Yes.
on Instagram at the time, the way for photographers to really build up their following
Yeah.
um, was to shoot models. So at that time, I used to shoot a lot of, I mean, I don't wanna say risque, but I used to shoot a lot of, like, model photos of, like, women in bikinis, stuff at the
Yeah.
beach, stuff at pools. I would just shoot girls all the time. Nothing
Right.
crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just like, "Oh, that's what's popping on IG." I see other
Right.
photographers getting a following from it, and that's what I did, and my
Mm-hmm.
account was just blowing up, blowing up, blowing up, blowing up, going
Yeah.
crazy. But then
Mm-hmm.
it came a time where, "Oh, I'm working at a church.
They're like, excuse me.
Okay." And that was one thing that they brought up. They're like, "Hey, like, we see the art in
Wow.
it. We see the
Yeah.
art in what you do. We see that you can compose an image. This just
Yes.
doesn't really align with."
The same thing.
And I'm like, "Nah, I get it." So
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stopped doing it. I stopped
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And what happened? Following started to drop,
Yeah.
because now I'm not posting what I built my entire platform off of. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily that was something true to me anyway. I was just doing it to
Yeah.
get follows. And even if you look at my following today, I mean, I'm manually going through my account every day,
Uh-huh.
just unfollowing, deleting, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I had all this crap from that
From
time
yeah.
that doesn't resonate with where I am now.
Mm, that's
As
good.
one, as a man, as a Christian, my beliefs, none
Yes.
of that resonates at all. At all. So it's just like now I'm being authentically me. I mean, I've been authentically me, but what I'm saying is my entire brand isn't built off of what other people are doing, because eventually, like I said, things will change. You'll even change.
Right.
So you just have to always just do things that are completely true to you, not trends, and not just following other people.
Absolutely.
That's, I mean, if you do that alone, even
Right.
the mistakes that you make are founded by you. They're not necessarily founded because you followed someone else, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good. This was so
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so much. Very inspiring and very
Thank
helpful.
you.
Thank you for all the examples.
Of course.
Yeah. So please tell us where we can find you, but also tell us about your studio space and what it offers so we can get more bookings for you, sir.
Absolutely. Okay, so you can find me personally on Instagram. My Instagram account is by James Davis, by James Davis. And if you guys want to check out my studio, it's called the Space OC. You can find that on Instagram, the same handle, the Space OC. You can Google us, same thing, the Space OC. Our website is thespaceorangecounty.com.
Mhm.
And our studio space is a 1,000 square foot space. It's not massive, but it's not small at the same time.
Mhm.
Perfect for content creation, perfect for photo shoots. We host a ton of documentaries, a ton of short films, a lot of interviews, and then obviously we have photo shoots galore.
Yes.
Once it comes to the holidays, we have families in there almost every single day. So whether you're a photographer, videographer, or just someone that needs a place to create, the Space OC, we got you covered. So, yeah.
Love it. And I'll be coming soon. Guys,
Yes,
we're bringing a
yes.
tutorial. I'm excited
It's gonna
to
be
do
dope.
it
It's gonna be
live and in
dope.
person. James and I got
Definitely.
something for y'all. So stay tuned. Make sure
Absolutely.
you subscribe, but follow him. And
Please.
I got to plug Dulce because she's an amazing makeup artist.
Oh,
So
you have to. She's
yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah.
incredible. Incredible. Dulce Moran, best
Yes.
makeup artist, super versatile, future
Yes.
wifey. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of that. Follow her
All
too.
that.
She's amazing. But no, she does great makeup work because you guys work together in tandem.
Yeah.
So if somebody does need makeup when they're doing their photos, when you're doing the photos, and she can do the makeup for the client.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a
That's
it
I mean,
works.
that's one great thing about having a studio is,
Yeah,
both of us, we're both in that field.
right.
So it works out perfect. Works out perfect.
Beautiful. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, James. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you for all for tuning in today. Make sure you have subscribed, liked, follow James on all his accounts. His information will be below in the description box, and we'll see you next time.